Good evening. Welcome inside the Hero Press Box. We are in our 38th episode. What you sent me today.
hmm
And well, we haven't done an episode for a week and a half now.
hmm
But not a whole lot has happened. There's been a championship, a new champion named, and that was today as
hmm
Stanford beat UCLA in the championship NCAA soccer. So I was right.
So was I.
Whose bracket looked better, yours or mine?
Definitely yours.
hmm
Who did you have in the championship?
Stanford and Duke.
Okay. So we both had one player out, or one team out.
Yeah, that the Stanford quarter
Is perfect.
besides two. Yeah, that's all. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with how
Yeah.
it went. Yeah. Did you watch all that game?
Yes, I did.
Any comments, thoughts on that?
That was the game that I was hoping that the NWSL championship game would be like. It was it's a good game. I thought that Stanford should have put it away way earlier than they did. It definitely, I don't think it should have been as difficult for, I don't, difficult's the wrong word, but it definitely probably shouldn't have been as of competitive second half as it was. I think they had enough opportunities where if they got a third goal in the first half, that it was pretty much said and done at that point, and they just didn't convert.
Yeah, Chris, and I don't know how much they mentioned this about the age of these two teams, but Chris Henderson
Mhm.
tweeted about it, and looking ahead to next year, I think you have two favorites to get back to the
Mhm.
championship.
Yep.
It's these two teams. So to see those young players on that stage
hmm
perform as they did today was pretty impressive and deserved a lot more than
Yeah.
the 1,300 fans that showed up. I think
Yeah.
was what the
Yeah.
attendance was.
Yeah. And Jennifer Gordon had some interesting replies to tweets as well about that kind of playing into attendance, playing into someone saying that collegiate soccer, women's soccer was bad soccer.
Mhm.
So I thought it was a great game. I was completely surprised by UCLA in the second half. I didn't think that they were going to have the legs to compete like they did in the second half. That's for sure, especially after such a disheartening first half. I was quite impressed by them in the second half.
Which of those young players do you like the most,
Oh
as
gosh.
far as a freshman or sophomore or other
Well,
player in general? I guess.
yeah, and I guess I haven't. I'm gonna go with an upperclassman because I really haven't watched UCLA play. But Mace, she's so good. Oh my gosh, I was just. It's so their level of play is so beyond everyone else's that they're just kind of in a whole other league. At least the way that they played today.
Yeah, the one player that I would say from today's match, I just now thought that I should probably add her to my stand list, which we'll go over here in a few
Mhm.
minutes. So I'll just wait to mention her on
Mhm.
there, and we'll see if you have any ideas
Okay.
on who that might be from me.
Okay.
So a
Mhm.
tweet that the Hero Press Box tweeted out during that game, and this was what? So this was 15 minutes in. This
Yeah,
was
yeah.
tweeted when Stanford scored their first goal, and basically an empty
Yep.
net that Stanford had to shoot towards, and one defender in the way, and the ball. There's no way she makes a play on it
Right.
other than other than grabbing the ball,
Yeah,
hitting the ball away, which would result in a red
Result in
card
pen.
or her disqualification and a penalty kick, which in essence gives your team a better chance, right, to not give up a. It doesn't. You
Yeah. So you're gonna take playing down a player for that long of time.
No, no,
And
no, nope. And that's my question. Is that's why the tweet was right? What
right,
was right? The question of the tweet was at
right,
what point in the match
right. I
you want that to happen?
I for sure don't take it in the first 15 minutes because you're
And I
playing
wouldn't either.
right. There's no that would be dumb. You're in a championship game. There's no reason to
Okay,
be
but
doing that.
you're not preaching any. You're preaching to the choir, so you don't have
Yeah.
to spend your time on that.
And then the other thing is that you're going to be giving up a penalty shot. So
hmm
the likelihood of you still going down a goal is pretty high.
But is it less than if? Yes.
So even I took I think it was the 85th minute to the 90th minute.
Okay.
And that was solely because at least you're not playing the majority of the game down a player. And even like 75 to 85 I might be okay with.
hmm
But I think anything in time-wise lower than that wouldn't be ideal, at least for me. And again, you're still most likely going to be giving up a goal no matter what you do.
So I completely agree with you, except for your whole. I mean, the chances of it's you literally have a 0% chance of stopping the goal if she doesn't hit it with her hand, right? Literally a
Right.
0% chance.
Okay.
Or as opposed to a PK against a I mean, you saw her. We've both seen
Yeah.
their goalie. It's not like she's a a bad
Right.
goalie.
Right.
I mean, even if it's a 20% chance that she stops it,
There's still a chance.
yeah, that's a lot better chance than zero. That's an infinitely better chance than zero.
That's an infinitely better chance than zero, but it still
Mhm.
favors in the team of who's taking the PK.
So you just rather have 0%.
No, I mean, but I'm not
That's
gonna
where you're
tell.
going
Yeah, but I'm also not gonna tell if I'm coaching, if
with
I'm the
89th minute, and you had the
the
possibility
yeah,
to stop time and tell that player
but
to.
the pressure is still on the goalie because even if the person who's taking the PK
But you wouldn't want to
misses,
get to that point. You would rather just be scored on in the 89th minute and be like 1-0. Okay, we have a minute to score, or else we're screwed.
yeah, because I'm giving
Or okay, make a save here, and we're going to overtime. One
yeah,
save, as opposed to building up
one
to score.
one save that is one of the most difficult saves to make in soccer.
You know, it's even more of a difficult save to make when the goalie's 40 feet away from the net,
Yeah.
and you have one defender
Well,
between the shot and the
that's
goal.
also why it was. I don't know if she hesitated, if the goalie hesitated or what, but she definitely should have had that ball. When she went to come out and get it, and it kind of took that weird spin.
After the deflection off the.
Yeah. I just had a feeling that it was going through her hands and that it was just going in the back of the net. And
Mhm.
at that moment, definitely not taking the PK in the 89th minute. I don't think I would.
I'm 100% going PK.
I don't know if I could.
Then you need
If
to find. Then you need to find a better goalie who you have somewhat trust in.
well, right. That's like in basketball, if you're
So
gonna leave.
okay, so let's put these in two teams. Into
Mhm,
Wisconsin,
mhm.
89th minute. Are you putting Caitlin Clem to stop a PK?
I'm not sure I would take anyone stopping a
Hope
PK.
Solo.
Oh, I would take Hope Solo. That's because it's Hope Solo.
She's farther away from the net than that goalie was on the goal
Yeah.
right now. You and
But she could
okay.
stop a PK.
So you had tweeted or you'd retweeted, and I don't know if this was serious, but I just want to make sure. that you retweeted something about the counting down the time as opposed to counting up.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I did retweet that.
And was that serious on your end, on their end?
It was serious on both ends. I totally forgot that college does it backwards. It's so weird and I don't get it.
It's because they stop time, and there's no added time.
It doesn't matter though if you're still gonna.
So you're going to go to negative. You want them to go negative seconds on the clock when it gets to zero, and they played full regulation. You want to go negative
Maybe
3 minutes.
they should just do additional time then.
I just want to make sure you weren't being serious, but I guess you were. So
I was being completely serious.
it makes sense to me.
It makes sense, but it doesn't at the same time. Why would you count? I get why you would count down, but in every other soccer, well, at least at the professional level, they're counting up. And I don't get why college doesn't have added time either.
And there's so many, like, what about in the substitutions?
Right.
Think about all that. I mean, because they stop time whenever you get under 2 minutes or whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
It makes sense to me. That's all that matters. So I guess that we will, if you have any changes. So a couple weeks ago, we had picked 4 different teams in NCAA basketball.
Mhm.
And these will be the teams that we're basically running with to make the Final Four, but we do have the option to switch those in and out depending on what we think, how they're progressing through the season. If there's another team that we want to pick up instead of the 4, you chose Connecticut, Notre Dame, Stanford, and Baylor. 2 of those teams played against each other today, Stanford and Baylor.
Mhm.
And Baylor looked a lot better. Not sure if you had a chance to watch any of that, but they outplayed the Cardinal.
Mhm.
I chose UCLA, Oregon, Ohio State, and Duke. You had first pick, so if I wanted to make any changes right now, I would, but I do not. Do you want to make any changes for yours?
Yeah. I wasn't able to watch the Stanford Baylor game. I am hoping to be able to catch some sort of replay if I can find a full game replay on it. But I took a look at the box score, and after the first quarter, it was 24-8 Baylor. So for me, I'm going to drop Stanford, and I am going to pick up South Carolina.
Okay. Yeah, I guess all 4 of your teams put against each other then benefit to that.
Mm.
With UConn and Notre Dame also playing.
Yeah. Did you get to watch that game at all?
UConn Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched all that.
Yeah, that was an impressive game. I'm glad UConn got some sort of test, at least during the season. And I thought they were going to run away with it in the first half. And then all of a sudden, Notre Dame took a timeout and they went on. I don't even know what kind of run it was, but it was ridiculous because they were down by 10 or 12 at that point, I do believe.
Yeah, and for UConn, they did face a test. They did pass that test, and you got to assume that Gabby Williams won't face confidence issues throughout the whole season. So that only adds to that team. And today it was, I mean, not to be surprised by the young players for Connecticut stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
Crystal Dangerfield, the sophomore, who I liked a lot last year. She seems to be ready to take the next step for Gino. And the true freshman, I can't remember her name right now, number 3. I was impressed watching her today, and because I haven't got to see. I've watched them play a couple games, but I haven't seen her. So that was
right. Yeah. Yeah, it was Gabby Williams. No, I don't want to question Gino because Gino is where he's at because of who he is and what he knows and what he does. And I'm sure he understands Gabby's mental state more than I do, obviously. But if that's me, if I'm the person who is struggling with my confidence on the court, I really don't want to be benched for a full half because that's only going to push it down more.
So, in thinking of Gino and him doing something like that isn't a surprise, right?
Right. That's not I was not surprised by it at all.
So going to your commitment to UConn,
Mhm.
I mean, you have to sort of know what you're signing up for, right? I mean, so Gabby Williams has to realize who her coach is and who's making that
Right.
decision and what he's trying to get out of her. And
Right.
you know, I'm sure it's not like they haven't talked for the
Mhm.
last week, and Gino just out of the blue was, okay, you're sitting for this whole half.
Mhm.
You know, there's probably been conversations
Yeah.
about this matter,
Yeah.
and you know that's what I'm thinking. So, yeah, one, I'm not surprised. Two, I don't think it hurts anybody. I don't think it hurts Gabby Williams. Yeah, I expect her to be back next game playing
Yeah.
her normal self.
Right. I would hope so. I hope it's not anything that's essentially going to kind of overtake because she's a great player. There's absolutely no
She could just
reason.
transfer to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
She could be the next Michaela Johnson.
No, she can transfer to GB, take him to the ship.
Do they need her?
No, they don't need anybody. I'm
Just
just saying.
making sure you didn't want them to sound desperate.
Oh, I'm not desperate. We just beat Marquette. I am definitely not desperate.
So so you're changing Stanford to South Carolina.
Yep.
So you're for Connecticut, Notre Dame, South Carolina, and Baylor. Okay, got that change. And I mentioned the Stan list, right?
Yes.
So this was a whole ordeal. That, do you have your list? Are you done with your list?
I have my list. Let's pretend that it's done.
Okay. So this Stan list, and we talked about standing before, and it's done when I explain it. So I'll just get it over with and explain it real quick. Standing was from either some guy or some guy. Stan was such a diehard fan that it became he was standing for the team or for the player, right? So um, I don't know if you brought this up to have a stand list or we talked about it on one of our episodes, whatever it was. So this evolved into creating a stand list. And how do you create a stand list? And you asked me what the maximum amount of players are that you can have on a stand list. So
Yeah.
I developed this some sort of algorithm to figure out how many players you can have on your stand list. And somehow, in my opinion, it makes sense. So what I've done is this is strictly for women's sports that we're doing it for the list how many players we can have. For that equation, how many hours per week do you devote strictly to women's sports, whether that be watching a game, us doing this podcast, us researching for this podcast, us traveling to a women's sports game, um, us being at a women's sports game, how many hours per week, and then that directly correlates to how many players you can stand
Mhm.
for, right?
Mhm.
Was that what it
Yeah.
was?
Yeah.
So I totaled up. I just kind of did a rough estimate of over a year, and then
Mhm.
obviously divided and found out,
Mhm.
as opposed to hours per year, hours by week. And
Mhm.
so I had 15 hours per week.
Mhm.
And did you do yours and you had 12? Is that right?
It was just over 10. So I stuck with 10.
Just over 10.
Mhm.
So you stuck with 10. Okay. Um, and you have how many do you have
Well,
written down?
I have 8. I have a
Uh-huh.
list of 3 though that are like possibly on the list,
Uh-huh.
possibly not on the list. And I didn't use college players. but I think I may use one.
So yeah, and I was wondering about that when I was making my list too,
Yeah, I was gonna.
because then how because some of them aren't going to go pro, right? I mean,
Right.
there's a good chance that doesn't happen. Like especially with my players, I feel like. So I have I have four college players on my list, and at least two of them are going to go pro,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a good chance another one goes pro.
Okay.
Oh, there's so no, sorry, five, and three will go pro. Mhm.
Okay. So who do you got on your list?
So the two that I mentioned whenever we first talked about this
Uh-huh.
were Caroline Wozniacki and Rachel Daly
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the next ones that I had are Bailey Landry,
Mm-hmm.
Brittany Ratcliffe, Maria Sakkari,
Mm-hmm.
Ariel Powers. Collegiate players are Jordan Canada, Mackenzie Meyer, Iowa, who I hope she goes pro, but I don't have huge hopes. So
Mm-hmm.
she's one of those. She's that player. Then Lexi Brown from Duke, Emily Clark, Wisconsin hockey, who should go pro. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see how that turns out too. And then my soccer player that I mentioned was Ashley Sanchez from today. And then my kind of off the wall, who I just thought of randomly, and it definitely counts because I actually woke up to watch the steeplechase and this last go round. So Colin Quigley is also
Yeah.
on my tan list. So that's 13, and I have two spots left. Well,
Yeah.
still in
Yeah.
the search.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. It's a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Uh huh.
Like I like a lot of players, but are they
Right.
at the stand level? I don't know. It's close. So this is in no particular order. Most of
Yeah.
these you already know by now. Caroline Stanley, Sarah Hagen, Alana Kennedy, Maria Sharapova, Ali Krieger, Lindsey Vaughn, Jane Campbell, and Stephanie LeBay. Now, the three that I have kind of on the waiting list, I guess we can probably call it. The one collegiate player I have is Kia Nurse. Then the other two athletes are Shalane Flanagan and April Ross. You can probably throw Shalane Flanagan on the list.
Throw her on the list.
Put her on the list, yeah. So I only have one to go then.
How many goalies do you have on the list?
3. I didn't even realize that.
Three goalies.
Yeah.
Would you put them on?
A goalie stand
Would you
list.
tell your defenders to take a red card and put them on against the penalty kick in the 89th minute?
Okay, see, here's the thing is that I absolutely hate PKs. So I will at all costs avoid to end a game and with a PK. So I would not tell I would no. And we're back. So
We're
going
still
back to
live.
my So going back to my point,
I can't
I
hear you.
hate you can't hear me?
We are, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'm guessing you
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
me. Yep, I can't hear you. Should we?
Can you hear me now?
This is what are we supposed to say right here? This is a great radio. You just keep on talking about your rant about why you hate PKs, and you just
Can you hear me
rather
now?
give up a goal and lose as opposed
Yeah.
to giving your goalie a chance to win the game for you. Is that where you're going with that?
Mm-hmm.
I figured it was. Do we have our IT team on this issue?
We definitely don't have an IT team.
No? Oh, it's Sunday. They're off. Oh, other things that we wanted to talk about. I mean, there's nothing else that we really need to worry about for now. There was something on my list I sent to you at the bottom. Submit your questions to new dash head coach Vera Paul. So you can actually do that. They have a forum that you can go onto their website. So I don't know when the deadline for that is, but I 100% expect you to have something submitted. So there's your homework for the week, and we'll look forward to hearing about that. Alyssa and I are working on our Christmas list for championships that we want to happen, for teams, players we want to see do well. So we'll talk about that next time. Thursday, I won't be able to have an episode most likely because I'm going to be in Champaign at the Indiana State Illinois game, girls basketball. So I'll be able to report a little bit on that on Sunday if anything happens. So yeah, I think Thursday's out of the question for me, but Sunday I think I'll be all right. And if our IT team gets to work on audio issues, then we'll both be back talking. So I just got a message from one of our IT team members that said that I froze. That was 4 minutes ago. But so we got the audio clear. We got the video cleared up. We'll take care of the audio, and we'll be back on Sunday. So thanks for talking about Hera Press Box.